Well, just so all of you know, that was a preemptive bit of self-deprecating humor because I was going to use that story on the mayor if he had it. So he beat me to the punch. But, well, I can't tell all of you how much it means to our entire family to see you here today. And I have no doubt whatsoever that Susan, with that big smile of hers and that radiant personality, is with us here today in spirit. And if she was here in person, she would be giving each one of you one of those big hugs and looking at you and saying, "Now, how are you?" And with complete sincerity, because she would mean it. And so I got to confess, at a time like this, you can imagine I have some mixed feelings, but I hearken back to something the President of the United States told me when he was kind enough to come to Susan's memorial service. The president is no stranger to personal grief and loss. He lost his wife in a terrible car crash. He lost his baby daughter in that car crash. Later, he had a son taken from him by the same terrible disease that took Susan from us. And so he knows loss and he knows grief. And when he called to, express his condolences about Susan's passing, or it was at the memorial service, he took the boys and me aside and he said, "Now you may have trouble understanding what I'm about to tell you, but trust me, it's true." He said, the day will come when your loved one's memory will bring a smile to your lips, not a tear to your eye. Perhaps today is that day. Because I can't imagine a more lovely day to honor Susan Bayh. I want to thank Adam and everyone at the park for all they did to make today possible. It took a while, but I think the wait was well worth it. And so all of you know, I look forward to augmenting this place with flowers, and I want it to be a colorful spot that people could. There's already been a wedding here. How much would Susan love that? I think Emily Gurwitz sent Bo a picture of kids trick-or-treating here and dressed in costumes on Halloween. How much would she love that? That this can be a locus, as he was saying, for festive occasions, celebratory occasions, happy occasions. That was very much the Susan Bayh we remember and love here today. And I'm so grateful to the park and everybody involved with the park for making it happen. As he mentioned, I want to thank all of you for your generosity. Many of you have been incredibly generous. We want to thank you for that. And she would want to, each and every one of you were special to her, and each and every one of you are special to us. Our family is here today. I want to start with her sister Linda and her brother-in-law Greg. Raise your hand here so everybody can see you. Linda and Susan were the third and the fourth children in their family. They were daughters, and they had a special bond. And even when the going was tough for my dear wife, when Linda would arrive, she was her old self. She was happy. It was like old days. And so they just had a love and a bond that was just very special. And it was wonderful for me to behold, Linda. So, thank you for all of that. And Greg, thank you for making the trip as well. We look forward to spending Thanksgiving with you here before too terribly long. Of course, my sons, who've already been mentioned by our mayor, every time they were born in St. Vincent's Hospital, every time I drive down 86th Street, I look at the room where she used to stay and still remember that occasion. One other brief story, Mayor. So she was in labor for 25 hours. She started getting, her blood pressure was going up, so they had to do a C-section finally. And so we decided to be surprised about the gender of our children. And so when her doctor delivered Bo and held him up, he said, "Mr. and Mrs. Bayh, you have a healthy baby son." And she looked at Bo and she said, "He's so beautiful." And a minute later, he held up Nick and he said, "Mr. and Mrs. Bayh, he has a healthy baby brother." And she looked at him and she said, "He's so beautiful." And without missing a beat, she turned to me and she said, "3 men in the family. I'm going to have my hands full." And she was right, which began the journey that was more special than I can possibly relate to you, because my wife wanted to be a mother more than anything else on this earth. She was a wonderful partner to me, an incredible spouse. She loved me completely, frankly, more than I probably deserved. But she loved our sons. And if there is a mommy hall of fame in heaven someplace, Susan Bayh has a place in that hall of fame. She just was nurturing these sons, helping them be the best that they could every single step of the way. And my boys, I hope that someday you'll be blessed as your father has been blessed to have children of your own, and I hope you will bring them to this place and perhaps share a word or two and a memory or two about their grandmother and why she must have been a very special person indeed for this place to be named in her honor. So I'm very proud of our sons. Both have served in the military. Both have had great academic careers. Nick is now with the Colts. Bo's going to be going to Bloomington to clerk for Judge Hamilton next year. So they're here in Indiana, coming home to Indiana. So that probably means you're going to have to see more of me. And that makes me very lucky. Just a few other things, and this is like a wedding or a family reunion. I could literally go around. Every single one of you I could give a shout out to. I'm not going to do that in the interest of time. But just very quickly, the mayor, as he pointed out, there are a few other things going on, but he took time out of his busy schedule to be with us here today. And I think that is all you need to know about him as a human being, beyond what he is as a public servant. And so, Joe, thank you for that. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And, if Susan were with us here today, she stood by me in 6 elections, and I think she would say, thank you all for coming. Now go out and vote. I don't know if Rachel Simon was able to make it. She was supposed to be here. If not, let me just give a quick shout out to Herb Simon, because Herb was incredibly generous. And starting next year sometime, I believe, because of his generosity, over the next 10 years, inner city school children will be brought to this place, and they will have classes taught about Mother Nature, ecology, those sorts of things. Yes. And that truly is a wonderful thing that Herb has made possible. I think Meg Ursay was here earlier. I want to thank Meg for your generosity and for your devotion to the park. You've been incredible. Amy Peterson, just 2 more folks on my. Amy Peterson is with us. Where's Amy? Amy over here. And Barb Glass, the representative of the park. Adam mentioned some people who had. It was Amy Peterson and Barb Glass. Barb would be here, but her brother passed away, and his funeral is actually right now. So naturally, she had to be there. But it was their idea to have a living memorial for Susan. They were the genesis of all this. And so, Amy, thanks to you and to Barb for really being the inspiration that's brought us here today. And finally, one person who was incredibly close to Susan, and without whom it would have been difficult for us to organize her memorial service and this here today, 2 years and 9 months later. And that's Christy Mayer. Christy, thank you for everything. We love you. We love you, Christy. Final thing I'll say, just a few words about my wife. She's the most loving person I've ever known. She is the kindest person I've ever known. You're going to find this hard to believe, but it is not hyperbole. What I'm about to say is true. I had the privilege of being married to her for 35 years. During 35 years, I do not recall her saying a mean, unkind, jealous word about anyone. I could not say that about myself, but I could say that about Susan Bayh. She was just that way. I got letters and email messages from complete strangers following her passing saying, your wife stopped me on the street when I was looking at a map and said, can I help you find your destination? And then would not only give them directions, but actually take them there. Someone recounted the incident of a plane flight being canceled here in Indianapolis, and Susan helping the passengers reschedule their flights. She would help, elderly people, children, folks who that was just her nature. She was incredibly philanthropic. John Gregg, as First Lady, she went to hundreds and hundreds. She agreed to serve as First Lady to more than 400 charitable and philanthropic activities here in the state of Indiana. She started a 401c3 to help fight adult illiteracy in our state, and that was just a part of who she was. But the final thing I'd like to say is that she very much believed in both paying it back and paying it forward. She was very grateful to everyone who had ever helped us, all of you here today, everyone who had ever been helpful to her, and she wanted to help the youth and the young people of our state and country be all that they could be, starting with her own sons. And so, in concluding, I will recall the words of Adlai Stevenson, who in his eulogy of Eleanor Roosevelt said about her, he said, she was the kind of woman who would much rather light a candle than simply curse the darkness. Susan Bayh lit thousands of candles to light the way for all of us here. And I fervently hope that the citizens of Indianapolis and Indiana will come to this place and enjoy this space that has been named for her, and perhaps give a moment or two of thought about the special person who is the inspiration for a place like this. And when they do, she will live on in all of us. And I can't think of a more appropriate legacy. Thank you all.